Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from our home away from home, the Senior Botanical Garden. We're in the lobby gift shop area. We thank them for their hospitality. We'll tell you more about them later. Speaking of later on, that's when the Roundtable Gang shows up, and we'll tackle all sorts of controversial topics, so we hope you'll stay tuned for that. And for the entire half hour, because between then and now, we have some great guests and very important information coming your way. So stay with us. Where I want to start, though, is talking about a serious problem, hunger, in our area, and we have three very special guests who are going to help us through this. On my immediate right, David Daggett, attorney with Daggett Schuler. He and his partner, Griff Schuler, who is socially distanced behind me, have brought their special guest with them, who's also been on the program before. We welcome him back. Eric Aft, the CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina. Welcome, guys. Good to see you.
Thanks, Jim.
You too, Jim.
Eric, I want to start with you. We can get to specifics in just a second, but in general, how bad is the hunger problem in our area?
It's a huge challenge. We've seen the pandemic hit families like I don't think any of us would have imagined, and we're seeing a rate of about 1 in 4 of our children are facing food insecurity, and overall it's about 1 in 6 now, which is quite a bit worse than it was just a few months ago pre-pandemic.
You mentioned children, and then you mentioned pre-pandemic, so let me wrap that around this question. Given the pandemic that we've been experiencing, the era that we're in and will continue to be in, given that it comes along with high unemployment, given that kids have been doing online learning, parents have been out of work, how has all of this combined to create sort of a perfect storm to hurt children when it comes to hunger?
You said it well. It's a perfect storm where kids are out of school. Our school systems are doing a great job of trying to get food where it's needed, but with kids at home, accessing that food is difficult, and then you combine it with families who are out of work and trying to figure out unique ways to get food to them. And that's why we're here, and the support of Daggett Schuler and the community is vital so that we can respond in unique and creative ways.
I want to get to these two gentlemen in just a second, but Eric, let me finish with you for just a moment. What are you doing specifically? Is there a program? Is there an initiative? Anything that you're doing to tackle this problem of the kids when they're not in school and you don't know what their resources are at home with their parents or job situation? What are you doing?
Well, there's 3 things I'll mention, but we're working through our 290 partner agencies across the region who are serving about 34% of the folks that they help every day are kids. But I want to note that we are working closely with school systems to make sure that the backpack programs are operating. So as kids come through to get lunches, they can also get that backpack. Also our school pantry programs, which some are based in schools, some are actually next door at a local church. And so those are operational and reaching out to families. And also we're doing a huge amount of what we call community meals. And that we have various drop-off sites, churches, community centers, what have you, that actually we're providing individualized meals for kids to be able to take home for themselves and their siblings.
You mentioned the Daggett Schuler team, and I want to go to David and Griff for a minute. Guys, I know that you've been very closely involved in supporting all sorts of initiatives for students, especially, whether it's safety issues, whether it's health issues, learning issues, being able to give them a head start. David, why get involved with the food bank angle?
Well, obviously the need is great in the times. It's greater than ever. I want to give a huge compliment to Eric and Second Harvest Food Bank. He took over during this crisis and has done such an admirable job. Their employees, their volunteers, the encouragement and support that Eric gives both them and members of the community is huge. And I would just plead with everybody, in hard times, we got to come together, wrap our arms around each other, and somehow get through this. And they're doing a terrific job.
Yeah, and I think one of the amazing things about the Second Harvest Food Bank that David and I really appreciate, in addition to going after the community and trying to have gifts given, they go to the root cause, Jim, of poverty and for this food insecurity. Their programs not only minister to folks in the community directly where they are and meeting their immediate needs. But I think one of the biggest programs that they do is really trying to get to the root cause of poverty. That's one of the big reasons we're really big supporters of them.
Well, I think that's great. I want to get to some websites in just a second, but a quick reminder that you can still, you and the public and the viewers can still participate and help in various ways, including donating canned goods and things like that to the Second Harvest Food Bank. And while guys like David and Griff and his team and lots of community groups are helping out the way they can. Up on screen, Second Harvest, nwnc.org. Hope you will check out that website, learn how you can help. And as a shout out to the good folks at Daggett Schuler, DaggettSchulerLaw.com. That's 724-1234 if you should need their assistance in any way. And speaking of that, they do give a lot of assistance to a lot of people, as Eric said, and we appreciate all that you guys do. And Eric, thanks for a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric will be back with us next month. We'll do a
forward to
little
it.
holiday segment as well. We'll be right back after this. On Triad Today, and let's talk about exercise, especially as it affects students and especially in this era that we are in. And I have an expert in all these things. She's joined us as a first-time visitor to the show. We welcome her. Jackie Marr is assistant professor in the Department of Kinesiology at UNCG. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
We didn't plan to do this, but should we, just for folks like me who are not as educated as we should be, should you give a brief definition of what kinesiology is?
Well, kinesiology is the study of human movement, so it involves a lot of different sort of subdisciplines within the area. Some people are focused on sort of how you get better after an injury and sort of the biomechanics of your movements. Other people are focused on how your body changes physiologically when you exercise, and I'm more focused on the exercise psychology part. So how do we motivate people to be physically active? And then also, when people are active or they aren't, how does that affect their psychological or mental health?
What did you find in this study? You did I don't know how recent it was. Was it this year, last year you did the study?
We did a study in the spring when sort of all the transitions related to COVID were happening.
Right.
And basically we, as part of a class that I teach, I always have students complete assessments of their physical activity and their mental health so they can look at relationships that we talk about during the semester, sort of look at it within their own class and see, is it similar, different to what the sort of overall literature says? And we had done a bunch of those assessments, and then COVID happened and the university transitioned online, and students' daily lives were disrupted and they lost a lot of access to resources like the fitness center and mental health resources on campus and things like that. And so my team and I wanted to we thought, oh, this would be a great idea to follow up with people after this transition to see if physical activity still has some of the same mental health benefits during a pandemic as the literature has already established.
If you can do physical activity or if you can't. So you want to find out either way what effect it's going to have, right?
Right, on people's mental health.
What did you discover? I don't want you to give away the whole thing, but I mean, what did you discover in terms of, gosh, I'm in this pandemic, I'm not going to the gym. How is it affecting the mood of the students?
Well, overall, I would say to your point about the gyms are closed and things like that, we did find that students' physical activity decreased from just, January to February to April. So over that time period, students' physical activity did decrease, but their moods also decreased. So they tended to have sort of less positive feelings and more negative feelings. So overall, it would suggest that their mental health was declining over this time, which I don't think is surprising to many people if we sort of reflect on our own experiences. But what we found was that physical activity, if people were more physically active during the pandemic, they actually had more positive moods. So even though pretty much everyone's mood was decreasing, people who were more physically active sort of had a buffer or protective effect from that decline in feelings that people
Were you
having.
finding that during the shutdowns of the gyms and things that some took the initiative to walk, a couple miles a day outside or mask or unmask, whatever? Did you find they were finding ways to exercise?
Certainly some people were able to, and that's great, but other people weren't. And so we were actually able to look at how changes in people's physical activity from the time before COVID happened to during COVID, during the stay-at-home orders. When people became more physically active over that time, they actually saw an increase in their positive mood. And so that's really some of the strongest evidence to me, and because we're able to look at changes over time, that suggests that physical activity can really have this positive effect on our mental health.
Well, there you have it. I want to spring a personal question on you very quickly. Who or what led you to a career in education? I'm just curious. Was it a high school teacher? Was it a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a parent, a circumstance.
Well, my mom was a kindergarten teacher in Philadelphia public school system for about 30 years. So I always.
I think we have some kindergarten people running the election system in Pennsylvania. No, so she was a teacher.
She was a teacher and just always was sort of interested in it. And then when I was in college, I thought I would go into physical therapy, but just learned more about exercise psychology. And
Back now on Triad Today, and let's focus on family, shall we? Project Family specifically, and a good friend of ours of the show who's been here before. Next to me, with me, Tanya Foltz is Project Family Engagement Coordinator for Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, serving a huge area. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
For people that maybe haven't heard about this before or just moved in the area, give me a brief description of what Project Family is all about.
So Project Family, we work with the families that are affected by incarceration, specifically the kids. So we want to be an advocate for the kids and sort of help them understand what's really happening, and then when the parent comes home, what does that look like when the parent comes home, to have a smooth transition.
And when you say kids, I don't want to put you on the spot, we didn't rehearse this, are we talking about up to a certain age or?
Up to 18.
Up to 18.
From 0 to 18.
And especially in those adolescent years, if you have a parent coming home from having been incarcerated, it can't be easy. No. What are some of the, give me not a whole list, but give me a couple examples of services that you might offer to a family who's in this situation?
So we want to work with the parent and caregiver to find out what is the best interest of the kids. Should they be moved when the parent gets home, or should there be like a transition of let them stay here, you get to know them a little bit better, because every situation is different. It's kind of like divorce, and they carry the baggage of what's happened before, but really does that look at what is the best for the kids? And so I've provided, assisted with basic needs. I helped a mother find beds for their kids who didn't have beds, maybe help pay a light bill, find resource, but it also could be counseling. So as you say, like the adolescent who is mad, the parent has been in and out of their life, and what does that look like? So we help them resolve that, but we also want to connect them with other kids that are going through the same thing, so they're not alone.
Right, and you're focusing on children and kids, I understand that, but just as an aside, because we've talked about this before on the show, it could be the person coming out of having been incarcerated, or his or her spouse who maybe needs to look at some employment or a career change, and Goodwill helps with that too.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you, all the things you're talking about that you help with, which I think is great, has any of that been affected by the pandemic in terms of the way you deliver the services?
We've had to get creative, so we've done some virtual, we've done a lot of phone conversations. We do meet with them in our office, just the COVID requirements and mask and all of that, but we have continued to serve them throughout the whole COVID.
And since you mentioned it's called Project Family, I'm just assuming, and based on what you've told me a minute ago, that anybody who's been in a situation to have been incarcerated or their family members, so they're all eligible, right?
Yes, everyone
But
is.
now would the person who's coming out of prison, let's say, or the spouse, have to pay you a fee to get these services?
They're all free, and they're done by the sales of the donations at the store, so nothing is out of pocket for any of the families.
And you have a special project planned for the holiday season. It's something about an angel tree?
Angel Tree, so I'm very excited. This year we're going to serve almost 100 kids, and we provide a Christmas gift for each of the children on behalf of their incarcerated parent. So it's building that connection because the parent's not there, and every child gets a note specifically from their parent saying they love them. So we're building that.
Isn't that great?
It's awesome.
I just think that's super. I want to put some information up on screen because there's a lot of it to look at here so we don't lose time. Project Family, mc.org. Now, is that NC or
NWNC.
MWNC, okay, Project Family, NWNC.org. Or you can call 724-3625, and I think your extension is 1332?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, careersbygoodwill.org is another good one to check out. And the general Goodwill website is goodwillnwnc.org. And that, of course, stands for Northwest North Carolina. So I wanted to make sure we got all that in. And a reminder, since you touched on it, Tanya, to please continue to donate your household items to Goodwill, because those are taken to the Goodwill retail store. They are sold, and the proceeds go to help programs like Project Family. So I hope you'll do that. Thanks for doing that.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Triad Today. Always glad when we can steal this gentleman away from his busy schedule, and it is a busy one. Next to me, my good friend, Dr. Bob Shackleford, president of Randolph Community College. Welcome back to the Garden and to Triad Today.
Great to be with you, Jim.
We're in a festive mood today here with the gift shop area behind us.
Yes, we are. I see that, and
Yeah.
it's putting me in the mood for the holidays.
That's right. That's right. You need to have a gift shop right outside your office at the college.
I
and
do.
People come in. Yeah. Now let's talk about. It seems like in recent years, political and business leaders, when they're giving talks, they say things like, "Well, the community college is really important to the economy." Now, what do they mean by that, and how have you tailored your curriculum to make it mean something?
Well, I've noticed that the stock of the community colleges have really gone up in recent years. Of course, we have an incoming First Lady who teaches at the community college. Erskine Bowles, when he was over the university system, made the statement that I thought was very bold, that the community colleges were the economic engine of North Carolina. And the community colleges have been mentioned in several State of the Union addresses lately. The community college is much different than the early days when it was a vocational technical school. The mission has broadened greatly. I think the easiest way to explain it is this. Look at one generation. I know when I was 10 years old, the jobs that were unskilled, that you could just walk in off the street and get, were 60% of the jobs. Today, that's 10%.
Right.
And 20% of the jobs required a 4-year degree. Now that's 33%. 20% of the jobs you needed a vocational technical education. That is now 57% of the jobs. And so we have gone from 20% in one generation to 57% requiring a community college degree.
Right. You can't just walk in off the street and say, well, I want to take a course for a week and then work on air conditioning systems. It's all computerized and all this stuff. It has to do that. Now, what do you think, I know you're biased about this, what's the value of a community college education, do you think?
Well, it's really a number of things. One, of course, is cost, and that's the one that gets mentioned so much. You can take courses at the community college for a fraction of what you take at the universities and then transfer them to the universities. You get the exact same diploma. It doesn't say, aha, community college transfer.
Well, I know a lot
Exact
of your students will leave there very well prepared to take jobs that are readily available, but for those that want to transfer, are they doing pretty well in transferring to a 4-year?
Oh my goodness. Students who complete community college, their junior and senior years are actually outperforming academically the native students of the universities because they're in smaller classes. They're being taught by faculty who are rewarded by student success rather than research grants and publications. And they have that small personal, their faculty member knows them, and they have a tremendous foundation for their last 2 years.
Well, I mentioned that, people that will leave, graduate from you after 2 years and leave to go get a job. I didn't want to slough over that because it's very important that you've sort of tailored things in such a way that you're meeting the needs of area employers, right?
We are meeting the need of area employers, and a lot of people think that you have to go to the 4-year college to make something of yourself. And I could look at people, Eileen Collins, the first female space shuttle pilot, was a community college graduate. Clint Eastwood, Ross Perot, Tommy Hilfiger, these people who have done wonderfully, all started at the community college, and even our own graduates now are dentists, they're lawyers, they're nurses, they're doing great. And so you could start at the community college and go anywhere in the world.
Well, I think it's a good testament too that you've had such great success there. You're turning people out ready to go. They hit the ground running. A lot of these businesses they enter into, and they don't have to get retrained. They're ready to go because you've adapted the curriculum to that. Well, anyway, I want you to check out, I didn't want to babble on too long because I want to get this up on screen, randolph.edu. Randolph.edu is the general website, which I really invite you to visit because it has a lot of good information from the president and from all the different academic courses and things that you want to check out. That's randolph.edu. Dr. Shackleford, good to see you, sir.
It's great to see you. Can I leave you with 4 words?
Sure.
Creating opportunities, changing lives.
Good
That's the
slogan.
difference we make.
Good slogan. Say it one more time.
Creating opportunities, changing lives.
Appreciate you doing that.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, we'll see you soon. We'll be right back after this. You know, on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable. Hope you'll pick up your copy of Yes Weekly this week. It's free. It's available everywhere, kind of like these guys. I'm not, talking about your morality or anything. And also, another thanks to our good folks, Adrian out here who's running the Senior Botanical Garden and hosting us. We're here at the beautiful gift shop lobby area. Check out their website, seniorbotanicalgarden.org. Hope you'll do that and come visit. Now, to the round table on my right, but always political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster, journalist. Social distance behind us is the man we held over from his previous segment where he was talking about hunger issue. We appreciate his contributions there. David Daggett of Daggett Schuler. Rounding out the group, Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants, who's done a yeoman's work in getting people registered to vote this year. Guys, first question. Deutsche Bank says that people who work from home, which there are a lot of us, should pay a 5% privilege tax in order to raise new revenue and help low-income people who don't have the opportunity or the education to work at home. Guys, are you okay with implementing a privilege tax? Ogie?
Well, no. Deutsche Bank's been in bed with Trump for so long, I'm not listening to anything they say, for starters.
I understand.
But it's not somebody that has to work. No, it's not their place to do that. No.
All right.
Yeah, Deutsche Bank isn't the place to get our political philosophy or political economy.
Right.
We should look elsewhere for ideas.
It's just an idea, but I mean, it's an interesting thing because there is an income disparity. There are people, Keith, that can't afford or don't have the education or the opportunity to work at home. What do you think about a privilege tax?
Well, I think that's coming from people who are privileged. That doesn't make sense to me. I think what we need to do is get this corona relief package to people who need it so that they can survive. That's what I think.
All right, this next question, I'm going to be particularly interested to see what our attorney has to say about this, David Daggett. A North Carolina court ruled earlier, as most of you know, that a restaurant owner in Durham could collect damages on his coronavirus sort of pandemic era closings that Governor Cooper put in effect. He could collect damages from his insurance company. The insurance company has now appealed in court. Commissioner Mike Causey, who we've had on this show before, says, hey, if this were to take hold and go nationwide, it could bankrupt all the insurance companies. Now, guys, if a business was harmed financially by Governor Cooper's closings earlier in the year, should he or she be able to recover damages from A, the insurance company, B, the state, or C, neither? Ogie.
Well, I hate to defend insurance companies, but no, that here again, Keith hit it on the head. It's the relief package has got to be passed. It's not the insurance, it's not the state governments, it's the federal government. They're the only one that has the wherewithal to try to fix it.
David Daggett.
This could take half an hour. Insurance policies have what's called a business interruption clause on your property owner's insurance. Business interruption clauses are contractual and they're written many different ways. Some have a virus exclusion, some have an operation of government exclusion. There's different ways to claim that the virus is damage to the property and therefore qualifies under the contract. I will say both statewide and nationally, as part of these upcoming bills, there's some funding to pay these damages through insurance companies, let these policies qualify and let the companies get reimbursed. That makes some sense. With no changes in the law, this case will fail in the appellate courts, in my opinion.
Okay, I think there's two things quickly. Number one, businesses are putting the health of people in their community above the profit. We can't do that. I mean, number one, the governor did the right thing by closing these businesses down because people are actually dying.
Well, I understand.
It's going up. The second thing is that the insurance company, if you have an insurance policy, then you should be able to collect on that policy. But the most important aspect, again, is the relief package to these businesses.
All right, an increasing number of white men are carrying assault rifles to political rallies and protests. It drives me nuts to see these guys in fatigues thinking they're army men with AK-47s. Should states ban possession of firearms at public gatherings? Ogie, quickly.
You know, I believe that we should, Jim. It just drives me crazy too. It's so sad.
David.
Absolutely. You show up with an AK-47 at a public event, you're not there for peaceful purposes.
Keith.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't people be carrying an AK-47 to a peace rally?
Yeah.
It's not peaceful then, is it?
No,
Okay.
they're threatening people. In order to make up for lost revenue from the pandemic, New Mexico State University is now marketing and selling. They're making their own brand of whiskey. Given the fact, and this is a serious thing, the binge drinking on campus is still a problem, the alcohol-related deaths in general that related to students and driving. Is this a good thing for a university to be involved in, is making whiskey, Ogie?
That never would have worked at East Carolina, Jim. I
No,
tell
you were making your
we'd
own.
have been we'd been breaking in the still at night, stealing the liquor.
Right. What do you think? Good idea, bad idea?
That's a horrible idea.
Horrible idea. David?
You know what I think about abuse of alcohol. However, it is a state-run and sanctioned business. Right here in North Carolina at App State, we have courses in fermentation science, and if controlled and properly regulated, I think that's up to New Mexico State and their state government to properly ensure that it's done in a responsible way.
Keith Granberry?
I think it's a way for these colleges and universities to make money because of the downtick in enrollment, but I think it shouldn't be done, and definitely not on the college campus.
All right, guys, now the final thing is, and this is a true story, a Florida company says it has developed a flying car like the ones the Jetsons used in the cartoon, and they say that it'll be they'll be able to sell them within 5 years. Now here's my question. When these electric aircraft cars are available, will you guys ride in them? Ogie Overman.
I'll believe it when I see it. That was supposed to have happened 20 years ago, Jim.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I would. I
You would ride
You'd
in
ride
it?
with me, wouldn't you,
I think I
Ogie?
would. I would,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, yeah, we're gonna be.
You would ride in one?
Absolutely. The New Frontier. We're ready.
Well, New Frontier.
You riding with me, Keith?
Keith, what do you think?
Absolutely not.
Keith, you're not going to ride with David and Ogie in the...
Not David, no, and definitely not you. I'm not riding with any of y'all.
What
I'm
are
getting
you-
a licensed pilot. You're going to have someone
What
who's
are you, my
licensed to
wife
do
or
that.
something? You won't ride with me. What the heck does that have
That's
to
right.
do with...
At all. Not even
All right.
in your SUV.
This is
right
Keith.
now.
Thank you. This is you may not know, this is Keith's last show as of just a second ago. Well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. There's a new study where scientists are actually saying that sheep can recognize the face of other sheep. In the next study, those scientists are going to try to get sheep to recognize Joe Biden's election victory. Do you understand that,
I
Ogie?
got it, Jim. Very
All
good.
that sheep.
Those sheep are going to get fired.
Yeah, that's right. For all of us here on Triad Today, except for Keith, and David's gone to the New Frontier. I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.